Hey everyone, Pastor Matt here, youth and family pastor at Cornerstone Church in Marshfield. I'm here today with your Cornerstone Connection, a daily devotional. Friends, I'm excited. Today we begin a new book of the Bible. As you know, as many of you know, maybe not all of you, we are reading, making our way through the New Testament this year at Cornerstone Church. We'd love for you to be a part of that if you're not, and you need a daily reading plan as part of your personal worship. Please join us. Click the link that's attached to this video. We'd love to be reading the Bible with you. So anyway, we are starting the letter to the Philippian church. We call it the book of Philippians at times. So this is one of those really nice letters that you go, okay, Paul's not just super angry or correcting a church, and a church isn't kind of falling apart because of their decisions and their choices. It seems like he's pretty pleased with this group of believers, and he is. And we start in chapter 1 with him being very thankful for the Philippian church. And then he gets to verse 12, and it makes us ask ourselves a question today. It at least makes me ask myself a question today. And that question is this: what will you do? And what I mean by that is, what will you do when trials come? When you find yourself suffering? And let's even think in particular, if you're a Christian and you find yourself at some point in life, or maybe you already have, and you're being persecuted for your faith. What will you do? What will you do when that time comes, if it hasn't come yet? What did you do when that time did come? And today I just want to look at verses 12 through 14. And I want us to hear what Paul chose to do, despite the fact that he was imprisoned and had suffered much for the proclamation of the good news, the gospel of Jesus Christ. And so let's see what Paul did and what he tells the Philippian church, and perhaps we'll be inspired and compelled to do the very same thing, even in the midst of trials and suffering. So check this out, Philippians chapter 1, starting in verse 12. It says, Paul writes this to the church. He says, "Now I want you to know, brothers, that what has happened to me has really served to advance the gospel." Okay, again, you might ask the question, well, what has happened to Paul? Well, he's currently in prison. He's been he's in chains. So now, verse 13. "As a result, it has become clear throughout the whole palace guard and to everyone else that I am in chains for Christ." And so the very first thing we can point at that Paul did with his circumstance, with his trial, with his imprisonment, is we're going to have two E's today. One is evangelism. He didn't hide the reason why he was in chains or why he was in prison. He used that place and he witnessed to the people that were around him, the palace guard. He witnessed for the gospel, for the good news of Jesus Christ. So even though he was enduring suffering and he was in the midst of a trial and enduring imprisonment, he didn't stop evangelizing. He didn't stop sharing his faith. As a result, he says, it has become clear throughout the whole palace guard and to everyone else that I am in chains for Christ. And then verse 14, "And because of my chains, most of the brothers in the Lord," so other Christians, "have been encouraged to speak the word of God more courageously and fearlessly." So not only did Paul use his circumstance for the purpose of evangelism, for sharing Christ with unbelievers around him, but God used Paul in his circumstance to encourage others to also evangelize, to also share their faith courageously and fearlessly. Perhaps you've been encouraged in the same way by someone in your life who, even though they're going through a really hard time, maybe it's a cancer diagnosis, maybe it was the loss of a child, maybe it was even a marriage that ended in divorce, whatever the circumstance was, or maybe it was being at work and being told you can't publicly share your faith here. You watched that person and you went, wow, the way they navigated that, the way that they still shine the light of Christ, the way they still share the good news of Jesus and show the good news of Jesus, despite what they're going through, is so encouraging and so empowering to me to go and do likewise. And so, friends, I pray for myself and for you that we just as the people around Paul and other brothers and sisters in the Lord were encouraged to go and do likewise as Paul did, that we would be as well. And then God would use us as examples and encouragers to those around us, no matter what we go through, that we would continue to be the light of Christ in this world that needs his light so much. So friends, remember the 2 E's, evangelism and encouragement. That's what we see Paul do in the midst of trial. May we go and do likewise. Have a great day, friends. We'll see you next time on the Cornerstone Connection.